how was your life during the pandemic and all that good stuff?
Well, you know, I have a phrase I always learn to live by, and it's called adapt and thrive. Adapt and thrive, you know. And for me, that's been really restructuring my day because I can't really drive a lot of places like I would normally do when I would teach at other schools. And also learning how to rest, turn the computer off, and also really being open to the creative process. You know, so I have my sketchbook with me all the time. I'm listening to jazz music a lot and reading a lot of different types of things too, to really inform my art, but also really trying to stay true to my voice, you know, staying true to my voice. So whatever inspires me, I try to speak that in the language of I've been trained to make art, whether it be a sketchbook initially, to collage, to acrylic and watercolor, wood with acrylic paint and collage. So what I'm trying to say is that, you know, I'm trying to reframe the pandemic on my own life and really use it as an opportunity to make art and to really be open to different ideas on how to express my art.
Yeah, so you mentioned, you know, carrying a sketchbook and adapting. Were those things that you were doing before the pandemic, or is that something that's sort of new?
I was doing it more in a structured way because if you think about it, before the pandemic, I was driving a lot, and so having blocks of time open from not driving so much, the sketchbook really has been a part of my practice since I've been drawing and painting in college, and the discipline of it had happened when I went to Art Center School of Design in Pasadena, where the work ethic was just phenomenal and overwhelming. I could compare that school to, imagine being the best artist in your class. Now imagine going to a school where everybody was the best artist. And so the competition, the expectation, and it was always a phrase, how much mileage do you have in your sketchbook? Are you drawing every day? Are you drawing a couple times a day, a couple times a week? And everybody had their sketchbook with them, showing off their sketchbook. And so that had translated into going to jazz clubs with a sketchbook and sketching the musicians as they play. I call those, in art school, they call those contour drawings, where you focus on the edges of the figure or the object. But mine were more kind of very quick blind contour, semi-blind contour drawings where I was looking at the musicians and letting my pencil or pen hit the paper. And I gradually started to draw with a pen because it forced me to be more confident in my line. A pencil you can erase with a pencil, but if you have a pen, you know, that line has to be confident. You have to really be intentional about your mark on the paper.
Yeah, I think you can see, you know, a lot of examples of that in the works that are up on your website, the ones that you were scheduled to share within the show. There's, you know, a lot of music influences.
Yes.
And I think examples of like what you were talking about, where you're maybe not looking at the page, you're getting the essence of it, but not the full detail, or like a photographic sort of situation.
Well, you know, yeah, and see, when I'm in that frame of mind, when I'm in that zone, I can only draw if I can feel the music. If I can't feel the music, nothing's going to happen on that paper. So when I start drawing and flipping those pages, I can really fill up a full sketchbook or half a sketchbook with just, I'll call them jazz gestures.
Nice. So you've delved into it a little bit, but what is your background in art? How did the art bug, catch you to start?
Well, I remember going to school in Chicago. I was probably in the first grade. There was a kid in the class. He brought a drawing he did from a newspaper, movie part of a newspaper. It was a picture of a James Bond image called Goldfinger. And I thought, wow, that kid is so good. I want to draw like him. And so, I began to try to draw a little bit more. And of course, things happen in life. My mom remarried, and my stepdad, who I call my second father, he was an amazing artist. I mean, when he was dating my mom, he would come by in Chicago in his Shelby Cobra GT 500 and pick her up. And before he'd leave, he would draw with me. He would sketch. And I wanted to have hands shaped just like him. And so when they married, I kept drawing. I was drawing cartoon characters and racing cars. And then gradually I began to draw animals. And he was always encouraging me. And by the time I got in middle school, I was the artist of the class. All through school. Fast forward, went to live in Chicago with my dad, biological dad in Chicago. Went to a vocational high school at that time where you had to pick a major along with your academic classes. So while some folks chose electronics, accounting, banking, automotive technology, I picked commercial art. So it was a longer school day, because I still had to take all the math and science and literature classes. So it was a longer school day, but I was learning how to do commercial art, which is pen and ink drawing, watercolor, acrylic, airbrush, printmaking, from silk screen to etching to woodcuts. So by the time I was done in high school in Chicago, I was really more proficient and the different ways of making art. So got to college, took some classes, took more classes, took a lot of independent study classes. And by the time I was really, really sure as far as what I wanted to do with my art, I wanted to really become proficient at the figure. Portraits, drawing faces and hands. And so that's in my 20s, 30s. I began to become tied to the Los Angeles Black arts community, where I met John Otterbridge, who really was part of the Black arts movement in Los Angeles with the assemblage artists, who basically, assemblage is piecing together or assembling found objects into a three-dimensional piece of work. And so when I went to Otterbridge's house, I was challenged to try to express the figure, jazz things, any idea in a three-dimensional format with more collage. And so that began to have a shift in my work. Like around that time, I read the autobiography of Malcolm X. Had already read that, and so I began to really try to express art with more social commentary, with the influence of my background, which was comic books when I was growing up, and also just what I was taking in school, classes I was taking. I had joined a couple of study groups. One of them was a study group that dealt with Marxism, which was a critique of capitalism. And so I was looking at the world a different way, social and economically, and how that was impacting the Black community. But also I joined another reading group Pan-Africanism. And so I was looking at like a lot of critiques of society from a Pan-Africanist perspective, and that was impacting my art. And so I was really becoming really more invested in trying to really express a portion of my work uh, to challenge, question, and really offer some ideas to Black folk in particular. Around that time, I began to really have an interest in African American art history, and so I began to become curious about the arts collectives, because I was a part of an arts collective in Los Angeles called the LA Collective. And so I learned about the Afro-Cobra art movement, which stands for the African Commune of Bad Relevant Artists. And I began to contact those folk. One is here now in the Zoom meeting. His name was Wadsworth Gerald. He was a founding member of Afro-Cobra. And so, you know, he really has been a mentor in my life in many ways. And also my writing in art was also impacted by like another mentor who is here in the Zoom meeting. Her name is Dr. Melanie Herzog. You know, she's a art historian and is teaching she did like amazing research on Elizabeth Catlett. And so I've been knowing her since probably like almost 20 years because I was really impacted by Black women artists, especially. And so her work on Catlett was an influence, and her discipline in writing challenged me to not just make art, but write about art, write about it, you know? And so it's been a synthesis of making art, writing about it, and being really invested in the Black aesthetic.
You can tell that passion comes through. And you know, given everything that the world is in 2020, it definitely feels like the show that you had planned would have had a place for sure.
Sure. Yeah. Definitely.
So what did you have planned for your arts area show?
Well, you know, at this stage of my life right now, you know, my language of expressing my emotions and thoughts and feelings is multilingual. So I've learned different ways of art making. And so this show was going to really look at where my voice is right now, which is, you know, R&B music and 45s, and applying that to collage and assemblage work, where I'm really looking at how do you appropriate image of a 45 record in a art piece that's either on wood or on canvas. And also, you know, being a older father of a 10-year-old son who is a mini me in lots of ways, my work has been shifting towards father and son themes. You know, one thing I was impressed with in the work of Elizabeth Catlett was her mother and child series sculpture, you know, work on in bronze and marble. And so, you know, I was looking at my background, you know, which is really watching my dad in Chicago and Detroit play cards, you know, bid, whist, and spades. And so, you know, I had this this series I'm doing where I would have an image of myself holding my son when he was a baby, but it be in the form of a playing card, you know. So like imagine the King of Spades. Okay, it's a top and a bottom, both of the same image. If you turn them around, it's the same image. And so I would do an image like that of me holding my son, and that piece was really moving into, you know, looking at those things that really define what I think is a Black father and an effective Black father, you know, because it reminds me of a show I did in '99. It was called The Son of Two Fathers, One Son's Love for the Two Men Who Loved His Mother. And I was really looking at trying to honor the impact of my dad and my stepdad in my life in the form of an art show. So the natural progression is really making art that expresses my love for my son in art pieces. And so I was looking at, you know, like a playing card series. You know, I went to Home Depot and had them cut some wood up for me, wood, and I was making playing card images, you know, and that piece was going to be part of a series, and that series was going to be called Statistical Iconoclastic Player. Okay, and that title is loaded with a lot of things. Statistical because there is a segment of the media that tries to really project this image that Black fathers are absentee, that they're deadbeat, and I want to shatter that statistic, and so the word iconoclast means a symbol destroyer, a symbol destroyer. And of course, you know, a player is a play on the word that has a negative connotation. You know, player in my term is spelled Player, and it's a strategic player. You know, like playing a chess game where you look at the larger picture. And so this piece was not going to reference any negative things about Black men at all. It was going to project a positive image, which is, again, the impact of Afro-Cobra on my work, because Afro-Cobra was about making work that offered, that addressed the challenges of Black folk and offered solutions, you know, and they developed a school of thought, a philosophy of art making. And so that is seeping into my work right now. You know, how can I look at have work that offers a solution?
Yeah, I love how you know, deep and well thought out each one of those pieces are.
And also, I want to say that you know, there's a piece I've working on. It's influenced by the John Coltrane's music, because I love jazz. I played the alto saxophone when I was in high school for 2 years before I moved to Chicago. And so there's a piece called Love Supreme. That music, but that phrase, Love Supreme, is going to be used in my work. And what I want to do is really try to project the fact that in the midst of struggle, in the midst of protest, and trying to really, you know, push society to really know that Black lives do matter, you know, in the middle of that space, Black folk love each other, you know, they love each other, you know, they laugh, you know, they find time to do that. And so I found a picture of Dr. Martin Luther King giving his wife, Coretta, a kiss, not a tap on the lips. This was a, you know, he's standing with his coat on, he's about to leave, and he's giving her a goodbye kiss. And this looks like a French kiss because it's a long kiss and the lips are locked together. I thought, wow, what an amazing, amazing image right there, you know. I've also been looking at images of him playing with his kids, with his wife, you know, images of Malcolm X holding his daughters, you know. So you know, I really want to, I'm really learning how to appreciate the space of just tenderness, you know.
Yeah, and that's definitely, you know, something that we don't always see. I mean, obviously, you know, those are two people that were involved in struggle and pushing society forward when it didn't always want to, and that's an important part of their legacy. But there, well, as you said, there was a different side to it, and that's an interesting way to capture it.
Yeah, definitely, definitely.
So, you know, everybody's had plans upended with the pandemic. Do you have any plans for the works that we're going to go into the show for the arts area?
As far as like, what do you mean as far as
Showing them someplace or collecting them, and you know, I don't know, whatever you may have be thinking about doing with like that series of work.
you know, I'm just gonna keep making art, you know. I mean, if I make, I find that if I'm trying to make art to sell, if I'm trying to make art because I want to put it in a show, it tends to stifle the creative process. Because art is like, making art is like breathing to me, breathing, you know. And so I'm just gonna keep making it. And if a show comes up, fine, you know. I mean, you know, many of the ideas that I had made into art pieces came out of my sketchbook. And when I was in my sketchbook drawing and sketching, I had no idea I was going to have works in a show. I was just doing what came natural to me.
Ask you about that concept of being multilingual. It seems like that's, you know, something that reoccurs with you. Obviously, you delve into so many different styles of artwork, but also you have a career in professional communications, right, or teaching. And
Yes, yeah. You know.
So what does that term mean to you?
Well,
how does it reflect in your artwork?
Well, you know, it goes back to, let me just say that I began as an art major, I've always been an art major, and I had two instructors, one at Cal State Fullerton and one at San Bernardino Valley College, and they both challenged me. They said, you know, your work is amazing, you're going to sell your work, but if for some reason, you know, you can't pay a bill, are you good at anything else? You know, and I said, well, I like writing and speaking. I've taken classes in that. And so they said, you know, the teacher who I had at Valley College had encouraged me to major in communication studies also. Speak about and write about the art that you make. And so, and the idea of communicating is conveying a message to a listener, to a viewer. And so, and that, you know, viewer or that listener will interpret that message. Well, if I'm talking about speaking, I'm talking about, you know, the words I choose, my body language, how, you know, my attire, my organization of my thoughts. If I translate that to art making, I am conveying to a viewer using color, using the arrangement of shapes, a message. And that viewer brings their own, background, their own experiences to that communication situation. And so there's a dialogue happening with the art and the viewer, all the time. And so if I'm intentional about, who's going to see my work, and if I really have the idea of referencing things that will really jar the viewer, evoke a response, get them to think about things a little bit more, challenge their paradigm, then I'm being true to my voice. I don't, now in speaking, there's an idea of credibility, which is, are you qualified to talk about this topic here? Are you dressed for the occasion? Are you prepared for it? Well, in art making, the credibility can be viewed as, is the work sloppy? Is it poorly put together? Is it showing some type of proficiency? That's one of the tenets of a philosophy and Afro-Cobra. The work has to shine. It has to get down. It has to throw down. Has to show technical excellence. And so my credibility is my technical excellence in the kind of work that I'm presenting as an artist. And so, I see a relationship between, oral communication and visual communication using, paint, pencil, found objects, collage, mixed media, pen and ink. Those are all of the vocabularies that I've learned over the years so that I'm multilingual. So when I look at a picture of a John Coltrane playing a saxophone, when I see an image of Billie Holiday, singing, I can express that in various ways. I can fall back on the discipline of knowing how to render a face, a figure. I can also really step back and say, okay, can I suggest? Because less can always be more, because the human eye will finish it up. I don't have to finish up a complete straight line. I can break it up a little bit. I can make it thin or thick, and so, or I can say, what, let me just find a Billie Holiday 78, vinyl record, and use that as part of her hips, and then maybe I could find the words to one of her songs, and then type that up on a piece of paper, and play with the font size a little bit and the lettering, and then put that on the wood of the canvas as a background, and then with acrylic paint and maybe some cutout collage images of jazz club scenes in that day, put that on the wood, you know. And so there are lots of ways I could express just being inspired by something. You know, I mean, I could even take one of the words of her song. Okay, so this piece was probably the last piece that I did where I was really, really moving, where I had really got as proficient as I wanted to be in doing portraits. It's also where I was learning about the Black Panther Party. So it's a picture of Bobby Seale, co-founder of the Black Panther Party. And I chose red paper, red pastel paper, and I used charcoal with a white pencil for highlights. It's about 19 by 26 in size.
And so how old is the image?
95. And
Since you felt like that was sort of like the peak of how you making them?
It just depends on what I'm working in. Like if I'm working in paint, it's much more of I'm suggesting with gestures and everything, you know, and marks. But here is where I am right now as far as this is where I'm moving into this a synthesis of erotic love poetry, the tenderness of a man and a woman, love making, and I'm also using the light switch in the corner. This is my from my Turn On series. It's a play on words. You get the light switch and flip it on, and it turns on. Okay, you know. The poetry is from a colleague of mine who wrote a couple of love poems, and this line in the poem really struck me a lot. So I collaged it on this wood, and the wood is 11 by 11 in size, about maybe an inch and a half thick. And the line of the poem says, "Skin melts like hot wax, my lips drip like syrup into your mouth." So those lines are collaged over and over again on the piece.
Yeah, I'm starting to see that now. Like at first you were trying to read it and see if it's more of the poem, but I can see now that it's just that one line.
Yeah, and then underneath is a 45 image of a record by Marvin Gaye and Tammy Terrell called Your Precious Love. Okay. And that song came out in the 60s. And this song, this 45 image right below is by Roberta Flack. It's called The First Time Ever I Saw Your Face. Okay. We have butterflies here to symbolize transformation from a caterpillar to a butterfly, because, you know, love is transformative. You know, a person said in a poem once, if you're still the same person afterwards, then it wasn't love. Because people who have an impact on us, you know, people who care about us, think about the food you like, the music you like to hear, maybe a certain fragrance that you like wearing is probably from having a person in your life who you cared about, who you are really, it could be anybody. I mean, it's not just limited to like erotic love. It could be like a best friend. Say, hey, you know what? You don't like lasagna? Try this out. You might like it. And then you and your friend might part ways, but you still like lasagna. Okay? And so love is transformative. Again, getting back to the piece right here, this piece right here It's a Motown record by Lionel Richie and Diana Ross called Endless Love. Okay. And of course,
And so those,
Abstracted. Hmm?
so those are real records, right?
Yeah, man. Oh, yeah. I bought those records
Did
off
you
of
buy them?
eBay.
Okay,
eBay.
so you bought them to put on the canvas.
Well, no, I color Xerox them and I reduced them. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
Yeah, I was going to ask you about how you felt about using, records, putting them on there. If you felt precious about it, if it were the real thing.
yeah. No, man. I mean, yeah. I mean, I have. I grew up with 45 records. I did. So I'm connected to them in a certain way. And of course, again, talking about abstraction now. Here is the head of the gentleman. It's a guy right here. There's his shoulder, and his leg is right there. Okay, here, and the lady is on top of him. There's a hip right there, buttocks right there. Okay. So again, less is always more. I don't have to go into detail and draw up every little thing, but I can just suggest that this is a love connection happening that's transformative.
And so when you started this image, what was the impetus to get it going?
The impetus was the poem, because I took a poetry class in college, and so I began to write like a lot of poetry, but because I'm a visual artist, the poem would be halfway done and it would start to grow into an art piece. And so I would go to poetry readings and hear various poets read, and a few of their works, I bought that were published, and I contacted them and I asked them, is it okay if I use a section of your poetry in my artwork? And they were flattered and, of course, honored. Yeah. And, of course, the Queen of Hearts, she's the queen in his life, so yeah, when you fall in love with somebody, you put all your cards on the table, you're not trying to hide anything at all. Yeah, so.
And so like what year is this from?
That piece was done, let's see, in 2000, I think either 16 or 17.
Okay, so fairly recently.
Yeah, definitely.
So this is maybe a little bit before you started playing with the playing card series?
This is the beginning. Well, actually, the playing card series is more of father and son stuff, me and my son. Yeah.
Yeah, but similar, I guess, yeah, similar in terms of playing cards being used, a theme, I guess.
Exactly. It's just you can change the context. Okay. So again, I was at Art Center in Pasadena at the time. Got a scholarship, the minority scholarship, to take a class. It was on drawing portraits. So I was really in my phase of getting very proficient at rendering the face. The person sat in a chair in the class, and we all had to draw the person's face in about an hour to maybe an hour and 10 minutes. Yeah. So, yeah. Moving towards like more abstraction of color here. This piece is called Conversations with My Father. Again, in the background is an old school telephone on the receiver right here. Okay. There's a guy sitting in a chair. Here's a chair right here. Okay, here. And this is a throwback to calling my dad in Chicago, because at the time, when I was living in California, he would say, son, when you call me collect. Dial 0, tell the operator, hi, I'm making a collect call to Chicago, you know. So again,
That's old school. Does collect even still exist? I don't know.
I don't know, man. Yeah, I don't know. But lots of colors here. Lots of colors. Really, to just try to express that, you know, I was it's different, you know, trying to talk with your dad and connect with them long distance, you know. Yeah.
And has he been able to see that image?
He passed away. He had an aneurysm, so he passed away several years ago. He did.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
But so before you were able to share that image?
Oh well, I mean, I believe he saw it.
Okay.
He did see it. Yeah, he did. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Again, a picture of Malcolm X. Again, I'm really trying to abstract the face a little bit right here. Mixed
Yeah, you can
media.
tell you're taking it a little bit in a different direction, taking things a little bit further with a portrait.
Yeah, I am. Yes. Okay. Here. Oil again. Very apt. Very suggesting. That was done with a dish rag. A person was sat in a chair in a class. The spotlight was put on their face, and we were told to rub out all the highlights. So that was done in about a half an hour right there. Okay, here. Again, you know, I'm really playing with paint and collage again, you know, and I'm really looking at the impact of the Statue of Liberty and what that means to people who were oppressed and marginalized. Okay, they come here for like a new way of life, and they really get hit with a lot of challenges. This is so what does the Statue of Liberty feel like to a person, you know, who's been you know, killed by the police, you know, knee on the neck and kill, you know? Well, this expresses that sentiment of frustration, anger of what Statue of Liberty means to an oppressed group. And so I found a picture of a Sports Illustrated magazine,
Okay.
and the cover of it was a pit bull with his fangs out. And it said, "Beware of this dog." Yeah. So again,
That seems kind of weird for a Sports Illustrated.
yeah, it was actually it was back in the time where pit bulls were getting a bad rap because they were mauling and killing kids, you know. And so again, you know, so I'm just kind of playing on the idea of you have to beware of this image right here.
So is like all the text and imagery sort of in the background there? Is that all from the Sports Illustrated cover?
It is, yeah.
Okay.
So
Beautiful.
it's a woodcut. It's a clarinet player, you know. And again, you know, I tried to really carve out, you know, if you could see music coming out of an instrument, it'd probably look like this, just stuff coming out, going around. You know, the person is becoming part of the instrument in a sense, okay? And this reminds me of, you know, I was inspired by two musicians again, Jimi Hendrix and John Coltrane, because they pushed the boundaries of the musical instrument to where when you see them playing, you don't see, like in my opinion, a person separate from the instrument. They actually become part of it. And so that's what I'm trying to do here, is to really show that there's a union, there's a oneness that's happening, and the background is being affected by it too.
So is the clarinet player anybody specific?
Not anybody specific, no. No, I saw it in I saw it in a jazz magazine book, and I thought, you know, I like how the figure is, and how can I suggest, how can I use some type of contour with a wood carving tool, and just show that this is music happening right before your eyes.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
Music, again, this is a jazz singer, you know, and again, the stuff in the background here, you know, is a reflection of what's going on around. Stop share.
Was there any particular reason why that one's blue versus the other one's more multicolored?
I was trying to capture the fact that the room or the jazz club was kind of, you know, dimmed a little bit, and purple has a spiritual type of a peaceful, transcendent feel to it. Again, I'm using I'm approaching again the Erotic Love series again, using 45 images. Okay, here. Okay, here, and there's a poem, and the line in the poem is called, "I want to simmer, sizzle, fry, leap, wade, bathe in the liquid of your kiss." Okay. Yeah. And
Nice.
so again, it's all I can say is it's in your face, you know, nothing to hide at all here, you know.
So are there more parts to the series, The Kiss, or are these the
Oh
two?
yes, man. Yeah.
Okay.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, it is. Yeah. So again, this is a album by song by Marvin Gaye called uh, "Sexual Healing" by the woman's breast right here. Over here by her hip is called "Let's Get It On" by Marvin Gaye. Okay. Yeah, man.
Um, you know, just given that the arts area, you know, part of the mission statement is to work with artists and work with works of art that deal with social justice. And so clearly you've covered it a little bit, but like, how does the concept of social justice fit into your work?
Well, you know, I tell you, that's been in my work for a long time. When it comes to my superhero series, where I'm playing with the idea of Captain America, and really trying to really look at the fact that that was a superhero that was popular in the 40s, during a time where there was some serious, you know, legalized segregation happening. Lots of horrible things were done to Black folk, and yet, you know, that hero was created by the comic books to really look at Hitler as an enemy, to deflect what was going on in the United States. And so what I'm doing is I'm juxtaposing what seemed to be very popular, and really really trying to show the contradictions, because I was a comic book fan. I mean, I know, I mean, I like to buy Iron Man, you know, comic book, but coming into manhood, I found out that there were like a lot of stereotypes, and I call them "thou shalt not" vows imposed on men, like "thou shalt not cry," you know, "thou shalt not express emotion," you know. And so how does that contrast with the Iron Man who wears a mask, can't see his face at all, you know? And so I'm really delving into like more psychological issues that impact what it means to be a man. And so that phrase, be a man, is repeated a lot in a lot of my pieces on manhood. Yeah. Yeah. So the intersection with social justice is to show a solution. Okay, I mean, I don't want to just narrate what's being done to Black folk. I want to show a solution to it, you know, a response to it. And that response is, of course, multilingual. Multilingual. You know, I mean, I think of the song by Edwin Starr called War, you know? What is it good for? Absolutely nothing. Can you dig it? You know, so again, I'm really starting to like pull music in, actual images of records, and putting them in the work.
All right. Well, yeah, I can't thank you enough, you know, for speaking about your work and, you know, displaying its, you know, full creativity and love and passion and all that stuff. It's been great to see and hear you, you know, talk about it and explain it. We appreciate the look
Sure,
behind the scenes in that.
definitely, definitely. Yeah. This book just came out May 2020. Author is founding member Wadsworth Gerald. It's Afrocoba. It's on the Afrocoba art movement, and I was chosen to write the foreword to it.
Oh, great. We would love
Yeah,
to put
definitely. Yeah,
that on our website along with your
please.
video.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah, I know you have a lot written about that on your website. So
yeah. Duke University Press, and I'm going to be also next week being a guest speaker in Dr. Melanie Herzog's class at University of Wisconsin on Afrocoba art movement in her
nice.
class.